police arrive at the home of a local handyman to inquire about a missing woman, they have no idea they've stumbled upon a serial predator. It's only after investigators unravel a trail of evidence leading to the woman's disappearance that they discover a murder ruse plot that has been long in the making and a lifetime of manipulation and lies. Before we begin, we would like to send our sincere condolences to the loved ones of Katie Kenyon. Greg Lewis. It's early afternoon on April 22, 2022, when Dawn Kenyon receives a troubling message from her 33-year-old daughter, Katie.
This is the bravest thing I've ever had to do. I need to find some peace and sort my mind out, so with the $6,000 Andy gave me to pay the debt off, I'm being free for a while until I figure all this shit out.
Dawn has always been close to Katie, the middle of her 3 daughters. The family live in Burnley, a historic market town in the north of England. It is a close-knit community, and the family enjoy a quiet rural life. Lately, though, things have been more turbulent than usual. Katie, a single mom of 2 children, has been struggling with anxiety, and it's not uncommon for her to message her mom several times a day. But it's not the contents of this particular message. What's worrying Dawn? Call it a mother's intuition. But Dawn is absolutely certain that whoever wrote this message, it wasn't Katie. Dawn phones her daughter's mobile, which goes straight to voicemail. Panicked, she raises the alarm with her 2 other daughters, Sarah and Jenny. Like their mother, Sarah and Jenny know immediately that something is very wrong. Katie is known for her devotion to her children in the years since Katie separated from their father. She has thrown herself into creating a loving, stable home. And then there's her dog, Indy, who she has walked religiously since the day she got her. It's inconceivable that she would just up and leave by early afternoon. Katie's whole family are searching for her. Katie's car is not parked in its usual spot outside of her home. Entering the house with a spare key, her family find that everything is in order. But there's no sign of Katie, and her handbag, phone, and other essentials are nowhere to be found. None of her friends or neighbors have heard from her since the previous day. And when Katie's children wrap up for school in the afternoon, the family's fears only deepen on their phones. Katie's children have received similar messages from their mother at 12:18 p.m. Katie's 12-year-old daughter had received a message saying,
I love you, and I'm sorry. Ring your dad. He'll be looking after you for a while from today. I need to get help so I can be a better person for you and your brother. Please know that I love you, and I'm not upset with you. If your dad won't look after you, Andy will always have your back. Remember, ring your dad or Andy.
Katie's 14-year-old son had received a similar text.
Hey dude, I love you and I'm sorry. You need to ring your dad. He will be looking after you from today. I need to get help. It's not you. I love you. Will you look after your sister? And know Andy will always have your back. Get your dad to come and get you while I'm gone. If he won't look after you, you get him to take you to Andy.
Both messages had come from Katie's number, but the language used and the way they were written didn't sound like Katie. And there was another thing in each message. The word while has been misspelled without the letter H. It's a word that Katie had never misspelt before. Her family know in their guts that these messages were not written by Katie. But if not Katie, then who? Katie hasn't been the only one sending messages that afternoon. Her on and off boyfriend, Andrew Barfield, a 50-year-old builder and handyman, and the Andy referred to in the messages, has sent a message to Katie's son via Instagram, telling him that his mom has gone to a clinic and asked him to care for the dog Indy until she's back. Unaware that the pair had been dating again, Andrew Barfield was one person they hadn't yet contacted by 5 p.m. Katie's sister, Sarah, had tracked down his details and got him on the phone. Barfield tells Sarah that he's been working on a building site all day and hasn't seen Katie since the previous day. He admits, however, to receiving messages from her at 2 a.m. Katie messaged him saying that she was going to drop her car keys, bank card, and the green slip for her car through his letterbox to cover the money that she owed him. In another message, she wrote that she had plans to go to a clinic that day to get treatment for her anxiety. One of the messages had read, "I want you to know I am truly sorry for everything." Assuming she was being dramatic, he told Sarah that he wasn't concerned and had nothing more to tell her. For Sarah and her family, Burford's unwillingness to help set off alarm bells. Sarah and her boyfriend Anthony drove to Andrew's house on Todmorden Road in the nearby village of Pattaham. What they were not prepared for, however, is what they discover when they pull up outside of his house. Katie's white Ford Fiesta is parked in clear view outside of Butterfield's home. Through the car's windows, they can see Katie's handbag and other personal belongings abandoned in the front seat. Both Sarah and Andrew are now convinced that Katie never left town. The pair knock on the door, and when Andrew refuses to let them in, Anthony threatens to kick Butterfield's door down. Birchfield calls the police. When police arrive at Sarah and Anthony explain the strange messages from Katie and that her car and personal belongings have been left outside of Butterfield's house. Police now want to speak to Andrew Barfield.
These guys outside are concerned about Katie. Do you know where she is?
Yeah. No, I don't. What's happened is that I got a text at 2:30
Today?
Yeah, saying I came to your house this morning. I'll show you the text.
From Katie?
Yeah.
Right.
But when I picked the kids up from school and came home, the keys down behind the door. So we came into the keys behind the door, so she's been.
Sorry, back to the item she's dropped. Do we have a time frame of when we think she'll drop those items?
I don't mind getting up at half 8 to school at half 8. Came back in the morning, got my keys. She told me she was on a walk.
She what, sorry?
She told me, she said she dropped the car off this morning and the stuff. Before that message came through, so what you up to, that's me, what you up to, guys? And that were at 1:30. She put, just out on a walk. You?
Officers find Birchfield friendly and relaxed. He invites them in to look around his home, joking that they're free to look in the attic as well as in his van. But a full check of the premises turns up nothing suspicious. Police immediately launch a missing persons investigation. Posters are circulated all over town with a description of Katie. A task force is assembled to comb the surrounding area around Andrew's house, her last known whereabouts. But by morning, and with still no word from Katie, her family are desperate. Their fears are compounded further when they discover that someone has permanently disconnected her phone. Cameras outside of Butterfield's house capture Katie kissing and hugging Andrew outside of his home. In putting him on the 21st of April, the day before she went missing. The following morning at 9:20 a.m., she is once again seen parking outside of Butterfield's house before getting into his silver transit van. Andrew gets in on the driver's seat beside her. The van then heads to the A670, where it briefly stops at a McDonald's drive-thru. Once again, Katie and Andrew are seen on camera sitting together in the front seat of the van before it heads off-road and into the forest of Bowland. The last image of them in the van is at 9:50 a.m. 51 minutes later, the van is seen returning. This time, though, CCTV cameras show that there is just one person in the van, Andrew Barfield. Mobile phone data from Katie's number corroborates the CCTV footage on the morning of April 22nd. Katie's phone pings off of several towers en route to the forest of Bowland. It then pings off the same towers 51 minutes later, heading back toward the A670. Only this time, as the CCTV footage shows, it is not Katie, but only her phone in the vehicle. Multiple messages are sent from Katie's phone before it was finally switched off from Andrew Butterfield's house. The evidence is completely at odds with everything Birchfield has told them. By 3:45 p.m. on April 23rd, officers are back at Burr House, this time when they enter they're met with a wall of heat. Despite the spring temperatures outside, Birchfield has lit the log burner and the house, according to police, is like an inferno. Barfield is immediately arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and taken to the station for the first of 4 interviews. According to the homeowner, Barfield asked him what day his bins were collected on the street that struck him as odd. Officers immediately drive to the property and find the bins are still full, buried under household trash. They find a plastic bag smeared with blood inside. It contains a pair of blood-stained and flip-flops matching the description of those Katie had been wearing, and several heavily blood-stained bags. Police now change the investigation from that of a missing persons inquiry to a murder investigation.
Started as a kidnap, missing person inquiry on Friday. Yesterday, it dramatically changed to a murder hunt when the police charged their suspect, rearrested their suspect on suspicion of murder. This evening, they have announced that he has now been charged with Katie Kenyon's murder. We got a brief statement from Lancashire Police. It says, Andrew Barfield, 50, of Todmorden Road, Burnley, has been charged with Katie Kenyon's murder. He's due to appear at Blackburn Magistrates Court at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Katie's family have been made aware, obviously, by the police. She's still being supported by trained they're being supported by trained family liaison officers. This is Gisborne Forest, half an hour, 35 minutes or so away from where she was taken in this silver transit van that the police located here. They know that she left Burnley, they know that it was here and that van was then back in Burnley.
Her devastated family grapple with this horrifying new development. While the police fast-track the testing of the blood traces with forensics, Birchfield volunteers for another interview with the police. He admits to the police that the pair had gone to the forest that day, a place where they had been twice before. After setting up their picnic, Katie had spotted an axe on top of a cooler box and had made a bet with Birchfield that he couldn't throw the axe accurately enough to knock a cocaine out of her hand. He went for a tree instead and threw the axe with both arms overhead. At the same time, Katie had begun sitting down. He watched in horror as it flew directly towards Katie before hitting her in the back of the head.
I believe that you want to speak to us today, so I'm just going to hand it over to you to tell us what you want to say.
We parked the van up and we went to our site, which we always go to. I say always, we've been twice.
Right.
And that's where she still is.
That's where she still is. Okay. So we don't know what went wrong. You were aiming at the tree and...
No, I can't even say a slip, bell, nothing. I just don't even know what went wrong. It's stupid, isn't it? That I'll ever do that. It's so stupid.
How close was she from you?
8 feet, 10 feet. There's no help there, you know, there's nothing.
No.
No people. There was signal on the phone, the phone carrier. Tractor. Sort of a boyfriend can't carry your own girlfriend.
Talk me through these next seconds then.
What do you mean?
This has happened now.
I just don't know what I'm doing, honestly. I'm covered in blood. I just go to her straight away.
Then, he'd panicked, unable to carry her body to his van. He decided to leave her in the forest, not wanting animals to find her. He dug a grave and placed her in it, covering it with leaves and sticks. Then he had tied a bag to a tree to mark the spot. His plan at this point, he said, was to get home, deal with his children, get his finances in order, and then take his own life. He also said that, in a panic, he'd burned Katie's phone and a log burner and dumped the charred remains into a nearby bin before moving his own SIM card to a new phone only. The police are not buying this story.
Thing is, Andrew, you've told us a lot over the last few days, haven't you? And you've told us a lot, certainly today, a lot of information. And a lot of it just does not add up, okay? And ultimately, we don't believe you of what you've said, okay? Do not believe that this has been an accident. This is about your control and your over Katie.
Homicide investigators searched Barfield's van and house again for evidence. This time they find blood inside Andrew Barfield's washing machine. Without a body, though, they are somewhat helpless to prove that it was anything but an accident. But a forensic examination of Barfield's phone will shed more light on the extent of Barfield's twisted mind. Barfield's iPhone had last been backed up to the iCloud on April the 4th. An examination of its contents revealed that, despite all of Barfield's recent proclamations of love for Katie, he had begun secretly seeing another woman in messages exchanged between the pair. Barfield tells the woman that he owns a portfolio of properties around the country. They chat about potentially moving to Scotland together and buying a house. Meanwhile, on the day prior to Katie's disappearance, Barfield drove to his parents' house after requesting to borrow a spade. He had then switched off his phone for 90 minutes, turning it on again at 10:03 p.m., not long after his van was caught on CCTV footage returning from Gisborne Forest. The next morning, the morning of April the 22nd, he and Katie messaged back and forth again. Katie had sent Andrew a message saying that she was ready for the picnic and excited for a new chapter. Barfield confirmed that he would drive her to a special unit where she could finally get help. But the phone data revealed that Barfield had not taken his phone with him to the forest that day, at 9:07 a.m. Katie had made her last phone call between 10:24 and 11:15 a.m. Her phone had stopped connecting with the local mobile network at 12:18. Of the first of a series of strange messages had been sent from Katie's phone, telling her family that she was going away. At 12:34 p.m., Barfield sent a message from his own phone to the woman he had been dating, saying that something had come up involving his children and that he would be unable to make their date as planned. Peter then sent messages from Katie's phone to her children and mother. He had also messaged himself from Katie's phone and repeatedly messaged her back, asking if she was okay and to call him. He'd also left her voicemails.
It doesn't have to be like this, we can sort it out. Whatever help you need, whatever you need from me, or anybody else. I just need to know you're safe and where you're going, that's all. What do you want me to do, go and get the dog today? Tonight? Kids ringing me, I don't, just let me know what's happening, I ain't got a clue. Please, I love you.
That evening, he messaged the woman he had been dating again, saying that he was properly knackered. But police are about to discover the worst was yet to come. Saved on the phone's Notes application, they find a series of long, drafted messages. The messages had been written by Barfield and edited and amended multiple times since. The final versions were almost word-for-word identical to the messages he sent to Katie's mother and children. But the most chilling part, the original had been written on March the 17th, many weeks before Barfield took Katie to the forest. He had been planning her murder for over a month. In a third interview, and not knowing the extent of evidence against him, Barfield admits to police that he went to the forest the day before April 22nd. He tells police that it was to walk his dog, then says that it looked like a good spot for a picnic that he had planned with Katie the following day. Meanwhile, using the new information from Barfield's confession, the specialist search team located a bag tied to a tree. But they could find no sign of a grave or burial site. At a loss, they take the risky step of enlisting Barfield's help to find the burial site. Dressed in a forensic suit and handcuffed, Barfield is escorted by officers and his solicitor to an area around 70 meters from the place where his van had been seen parked in Gisborne Forest. There, he sits down on a spot just meters from where the police had already been digging. Police take a closer look at the area indicated by Barfield. The spot where Barfield is sitting is in a densely wooded area where the grass and foliage are undisturbed. There is no mound of earth or anything resembling a hastily dug grave.
But as much as we were hopeful we found her, there was a couple of things that were unusual as well, weren't about that grave, in terms of unusual, like, for example, if you are to place a body inside a grave, the void the size of one of us inside a grave, you would expect to create a mound subsequently. You wouldn't have a perfectly flat surface. This had a perfectly flat surface. It was finished impeccably.
Despite their misgivings, an excavation has begun. As the topsoil is removed, a root network from a nearby tree is exposed, baffling police even further. And yet, several feet into the excavation, human remains are discovered. The The search for Katie Kenyon has come to a devastating end.
I want to bring you some breaking news now coming to us from Lancashire. Police, in connection with the search for missing Katie Kenyon, 33-year-old mother of two, the police say they have sadly found the body of a woman. The discovery was made last night in an area as part of the Forest of Bowland after receiving new information. And at this stage, they say they're not in a position to formally confirm the woman's identity, but they do believe that the body is that of Katie. Her family have been told, and they continue to be supported by specially trained officers. So a body has been found in the search for missing Katie Kenyon. Andrew Barfield, who's 50 and of Burnley, has been charged with her murder.
How had he managed to disguise the body so well when digging the grave? Birchfield had meticulously removed each layer, placing a layer of turf, then topsoil, then clay beside the grave before replacing them in the exact same order, all without severing any of the roots that ran through the burial site. An archaeologist and a forensic botanist said it would have been impossible for Barfield to dig the grave in the time he was known to be in the forest with Katie. This was a grave that had taken time and meticulous planning. The forensic team also found prints from 2 different sets of footwear around the burial site, suggesting that the grave had been dug on different days. Meanwhile, the results from Katie's postmortem revealed a very different story to the one Birchfield had told police. Katie had been hit not once, but 12 times in the head. A pathologist described Katie as having suffered severe head injuries with multiple fractures caused by a heavy weapon, such as an axe or a spade. Katie's funeral service was held in May of 2022. Mourners followed a horse-drawn carriage carrying her coffin as her family and loved ones gathered to pay their respects. Her family tell mourners that their beloved daughter, sister, and mother had been taken from their family too soon, and they felt stuck in a heartbreaking nightmare. Andrew Barfield's trial begins on November the 14th, 2022. He enters a plea of not guilty. The trial is expected to last roughly 3 weeks. The prosecution lays out their case, including the results of the coroner's report. For many weeks, Barfield had, they say, ensured Katie was beholden to him by promising to pay the money she owed, all while increasing the pressure on her so that he could enact his murderous plan that he had hatched weeks earlier. In the face of overwhelming evidence against him on the 3rd day of his trial, Andrew Barfield dramatically changed his plea to guilty in the murder of Katie Kenyon. He is sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 32 years to be served. There is no logical reason for Barfield's action, and no why. Barfield seemed to simply take pleasure in the control and torture of the women he had encountered and unable to control. Katie took the decision to plot her murder, instead ending the life of a loving young mom and tearing apart a family.
So asked me to personally thank every person who's been involved in the case to bring Katie's killer to justice. They also think it's important to express who Katie was, and the family have given me a few words that I'm now going to read on their behalf. Katie's a happy, loving mum of 2. She had a whole life ahead of her. Katie was beautiful and silly. She had a truly beautiful soul. She always surrounded herself with children, her own and anybody else's who wanted to join in. She would take kids and the dogs everywhere with her. She'd even try to set up summer camp for the local children so they had something to do and somewhere to go. She loved the outdoors and she loved people. We miss her. We miss her very much beyond words, and we will never get to express our loss.
Thank you for watching. Kindly like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. See you in our next video. Bye.